Looks fine.
All right.
Little pixelated, but not bad.
Yeah, it must
Oh,
be
right there by the
signal.
water waves. Boy, that looks relaxing.
Yeah. Let me see what I got in my book. Go get my pen. It is getting some waves in the background.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see a little bit of that in the background. It looks relaxing.
Should I turn a little bit more toward the water?
I'm okay with it.
Okay,
I mean,
cool.
you're the center of attention here, so
Ooh, I'm sweating, man. 92 degrees, 93 degrees.
I'll be on vacation starting next weekend, and hopefully I'll get a little bit of water.
Yeah, come here, Kai.
Okay,
Get some
gentlemen,
actually getting in the water. There we go, there we go.
turn my camera on. I don't think I realized it was off. There we go. Okay,
You're
we're
back.
live. We're live, guys. We can wait a few more minutes, see if anybody else wants to join in. So people will be talking to us from the YouTube channel. I've got to separate. I'll have to fix that later. We may not be able to chat with them until I go in and check the messages. But if you're wanting to join us today and you're watching on our live stream, you can join with the Zoom app. Our meeting code is 885-545-3031. And let me repeat that. 885-545-3031. And our passcode is just say no. You're welcome to join in no matter who you are, what your problem, what your addiction trouble is, or what your if you want to talk about some life stuff, we can get into some life stuff. We are a stream that's listed under Ultra ADHD. We tend to change topics, but today our primary topic is going to be understanding yourself and your needs and your wants. And we're going to discuss ways to learn more about yourself, consider your life in a whole new way, and analyze your inner thoughts and your inner voice. And so that's kind of what we're going to be talking about. I'm expecting a few people, but we may start whenever we would like.
Yeah, I think you already kicked it off pretty good.
Yeah, we kicked it off pretty good. Is it the three of us now?
Yep, it's just the three of us at the moment.
Okay. I did kind of kick it off, and I did so before checking the time. I like the idea of going live early and letting a few people join in, but I can go ahead and begin if you gentlemen think that that's a good idea to do now, since we are live. Is it a good idea to go ahead and begin kind of the group chat and the content of the information we want to convey?
Yeah, I think that would be fine.
I guess. Yeah. We're right about there anyway, time-wise.
Okay, good. Understanding yourself. My first note is you got to have honesty with yourself and not live in a fantasy world. I've ran around thinking I'm, somebody cool before, kind of thinking I deserve respect or something. I've been able to tone that down over the years. But I was living in a bit of a fantasy world where I had some kind of self-importance, and to really get to a more true version of yourself, I feel like just my personal example is I had to let go of some of that. I'm not Batman, not a superhero, not a very important person. It doesn't mean that's not a good thing that you can strive for, but I've really found some of my core values were not really embedded in a fantasy world where I'm somebody special. I'm nobody. In my perspective, I'm nobody special. I just want to make that part clear after giving that example. But you guys contribute. What do you guys think about understanding yourself?
Well, first of all, everybody is special.
Yeah. So it's figuring out who you're special to.
But I think, John, going back to how you were, was that how you thought about yourself, or was that just like a personality that you put on to show the public?
I think it's a personality that I put on to myself to try to make myself happier with myself, happier with who I was presenting to other people. And I like to be entertaining, and I like to be funny, and it is not. I don't think it's like a bad quality. Something like I can still be a funny guy and try to be special to someone. But I've let go of the grandiosity to elaborate on a little bit.
Well, I think part of that is welcome to adulthood.
Right.
I guess it hits us all.
And adulting is hard, as we all know. But a lot of that, I think when we're younger and we're a little insecure, I think a lot of the times we do just try to put on a personality.
Right.
And you're right. And we do it because we want people to like us. We want people to appreciate us. We want to feel that way. And a lot of the times, that's not how you really feel inside. So yeah, you need to know yourself. And, if you feel the need to act a certain way or to be a certain type of person, that usually indicates, at least to me, that you've got some insecurities or some needs that aren't being met, or you're not happy with yourself.
Yeah, I think we could all.
As a teenager or a young adult, that's pretty normal. You're still trying to figure yourself out.
I guess we get this.
Go ahead.
I guess we get this idea, whether it be movies or music or other influences, that life is going to be some grand journey, or you're going to be super wealthy, or all these kinds of things that sort of steer us into wanting a bunch of things that maybe aren't the actual important things in our life, but we see it in shows and movies and kind of learn and absorb that culture. And then once we shed that off, then we can start to actually figure out who we are and how to be at peace with that, how to make progress with yourself in a good, healthy way.
I think some of that starts when we're little kids. I mean, I know growing up, I wanted to be a doctor and a firefighter and an EMT and a police officer. And then I got into my first biology class and realized that I really don't like blood and guts.
Yeah.
Fun in the movies, not so fun when it's on your hands.
Yeah.
Well, I have friends who are dedicated to nursing, and I see what they go through and I hear what they go through, and I'm like, you did that voluntarily? Why?
Yeah. You sign up for this? You don't want peace? Yeah, somebody's got to be those heroes, right?
Somebody's got to be the hero, yeah.
So I had the same note as you, honesty with yourself. First, I don't know if that's something we did when we were sitting together or whatever, but that was my very first note as well.
Yeah.
And so you kind of, how do you figure out who you are? How do you process this? What are some tools that you can use to figure out who the real you is, what the real things that you actually want, the things that you actually need, and how to go from there. And I have they have these personality tests. This might be a good place to start. The Briggs-Myers test, kind of get a little understanding in how you are as a person. Don't let that completely dictate your whole life, because it is just some test that somebody made up, but it can be a tool to help you kind of understand um, how you process things.
Yes. Is it Briggs Myers? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
That's a good recommendation. And I'd
Yeah.
like to revisit that. I think I've done that before. Scott, have you done that one recently?
It's not recently. It's a pretty common tool in management classes and meetings for them to roll out. Because you can be a manager and you can fall, in any place on the Briggs-Myers test, but understanding where you are and that other people react to things differently can help you be, going back to one of our previous meetings, a little bit more mindful about your interactions with other people.
Yeah. I think a lot of this is kind of pausing during whatever activity that you're doing, taking a look at yourself. Are you enjoying this? Is this something you want to build on? Are you happy? Really just taking a look at yourself in a lot of different situations in your life, where we can easily just go through the day without looking inward and trying to process and be aware of our needs and wants. They can all kind of just get pushed to the back, needs and wants, and who we are, passions, drives. When you get busy just working, killing days.
Well, and I think a lot of it, going back to our, purpose here is help with addiction. A lot of the times, we can't live up to the person that we really wish we were, because we don't understand ourselves. And
Right.
So a lot of those addictions come from hey, I can pretend to be the person
Yeah.
that I wish I was by, doing whatever it is.
I know that out in public, a lot of people are doing that all the time, pretending in some fashion. I would say maybe half the people I might go up to, maybe, are faking elements of their life. I see somebody.
It's the life costume that we all put on to some degree.
Well, and I've told you guys before, I'm an introvert who plays at being an extrovert on TV, and part of it is, the job that I do requires that sometimes, that I be the outgoing, engaging person, and even, when I came out of the closet and started going out in order to socialize, standing in the dark corner of a club doesn't make you any friends. So, liquid courage helps.
Unfortunately, right?
But it's not a long-term solution. I'm actually comfortable with myself being outgoing. I mean, hey, I'm doing, this live streaming with you guys, and kind of putting myself out there. It's been a good thing for me, but there's also, in the evenings, I curl up with a book and turn the phone off.
Yeah.
It's just going to be me and my cat on the couch.
That's a good balance as well. I think another good place to start with everyone is making a list of your priorities. For me, priority number one right now is to stay sober. Priority number two is coupled with staying sober. It's taking care of myself, mentally, physically, and then you move further on that. Like, what do I seek in this life? What do I want to do? what are some things that are really important to me that neglecting or not going after while I'm just going through these days. So you can kind of write out all this stuff and then refocus yourself on that and help develop who you really are or who you are striving to be. Because I think we're all trying to get to our next person. We're all trying to grow into that future self.
And if you're not trying to achieve better, higher, greater, it's probably an indication you're just turning away from your inner desire, from your inner voice, and not feeding your soul in a way that it should be natural to just want to have a better day. Even if you had a great day, you want to continue that forward. And if you're not having good days, empathize, and I feel you can change your behaviors, you can change your words, you can change your thinking.
Absolutely.
Well, and also realizing that not every day is going to be perfect. We're all going to have bad days. There are outside influences on us that are going to upset us, or
Right.
or perhaps that we don't react the way we think we should have. And you can't let those drag you down. You have to learn from those situations and understand it's going to happen. I mean, that's just life.
Absolutely. I think it's a fantasy that every day is going to be perfect. And sometimes I feel like I can make that happen, and then I'll have one of those bad days that you're talking about. And I do kind of remind myself, I'm like, hey, this is something that everyone has to go through. Everyone has to process this now day. And maybe do some things, change your activities for that time, distract yourself, and then get back to your priorities, taking care of yourself.
On the grid view on the laptop, I'm seeing that Amber has joined us, or Desiree. Hi, how are you?
Hey,
Hello.
how's it going?
Nice to see your smile today.
Yeah, I'm trying to finish my hair up, but like I said, I'm going to join even if I am looking goofy and not done. So
Pleasure having you.
Now, guys, do you notice that every time she joins us, she's always like putting herself together?
Yep. She's fancy.
So she's got her priorities straight, or at least my section.
I put on a shirt with
Oh,
sleeves.
thank you so much, Scott.
I didn't shave at all. You look fantastic, Amber. Thanks for joining us. We're just having a chat about knowing yourself and learning about yourself, and you're listening to yourself for your needs and your wants, and just having a chat. Nice Saturday.
So another aspect of this that I stumbled across, and some people are really into this, some people aren't in it at all. But let's say there's astrology, there's tarot cards, and religion. I'm not grouping those together for any reason other than it just seems to fit. But if you are trying to discover who you are, and these things help inspire you to find that path or find that trait and define that trait, you're like, oh, I am a loving person. Oh, I am a generous person. And then say a tarot reading, I've had it done a few times. I don't believe in the stuff, but really what's happened for me in those readings is somebody that's maybe a friend of mine that knows me, and they're flipping these cards, and then they're bringing up kind of events in your life.
No, did James' phone get too hot? I just lost him on the video. He had some good words there. My phone got too hot outside a minute ago. I had to come in, and I'm glad I had the laptop as a backup, but I left my drink and my notebook. I want to share with you guys a quote from Marcus Aurelius.
hope that John is taking good care of my house. Hey, Scott,
Yes.
did you know that I went and I kidnapped John?
Well, I was wondering who was videoing him as he was pretending to be a Jedi. So now I know.
That probably was my son doing that.
Okay.
Was indeed, yes. Okay, so let me tell you this quote because I loved it when I found it. It's from words of Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. I love the simplicity of it. You have power over your mind. I just want to share that quote with you all. Didn't mean to close my notebook.
No, things are going to happen to you. How you deal with those things is entirely up to you. You can either let it drag you down or you can let it make you stronger. And that takes knowing yourself, that takes some self-reflection. It doesn't look like James has been able to join back in, but one of the things that I wanted to say, when he was talking about astrology and tarot readings and things like that is, while I don't believe in those either, those things are actually really good about making you think about yourself.
Interesting point. I like that.
So, well, I'm a Gemini, unfortunately. And so, I do tend to react to things in extremes sometimes. I don't think that that's necessarily because I'm a Gemini, but knowing that that's the way that the twin sign kind of works made me think about things and stop and go, okay, am I overreacting? Am I underreacting? Am I trying to avoid my problems?
I really like that, Scott. That's very interesting. I've never considered that element of I don't know what to categorize these things, but astrology, tarot, metaphysical. Thank you very much. Metaphysical not hobbies, but practices.
I kind of like to throw my 2 cents in there, being as how I do tarot readings.
Yes, I'd like to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, John, if you look straight up, you'll see it. I got a new deck.
I've seen it. It's caught my eye a few times.
But it's something that can be self-reflective in a negative way, and it can be inaccurate if you do not have it done by someone who knows what they're doing. So I would say, while it's great to do that, definitely make sure that the person understands what they're doing. And I'm trying to think of some pointers to give you. Like, everyone should have their own tarot deck, and they only allow you to handle the cards one time to be able to get your energy into it. And there shouldn't be a lot of questions to you. It should be more statements to you about this card means this. And then it's up to you to take that interpretation and decide what that means to you. So I don't know if that's helpful or not, but I have seen and I have had people try to do tarot readings on me that were so far off, so far wrong. And I was just like, you have no idea what you're doing. And even half the time that they laid the cards down, they didn't know what the cards meant. So I'm just saying, it's great, I would agree, but be careful.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. They do have to really know what the cards mean. And, the idea behind it is, okay, this is an influence on your life. what inside you is resonating with that. And people have to be open to that sort of reflection. So people who do it on a, you know, on a lark because they think it'll be funny, they're not going to get anything accurate out of it, because they're not really open to examining themselves and thinking about things, which comes back to knowing yourself.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, Scott.
So if someone is seeking a life that is more fulfilling, and in their search for that fulfillment, they're analyzing their self, which is, in my mind, when I think of myself, what is myself, who I am, the combination to other people, I am my words, my actions. To me, I'm also my thoughts, what goes inside my head. But I thought try to be very separately perspected and consider if I can change my behavior and become a better version of myself, either in my perspective or in other people's perspective. If other people are telling me, I really like what you're doing right now, if people are supportive of changes that I'm making in my life, I can take that feedback and say, hey, these changes are something that other people are telling me are beneficial, so continue them, and maybe even accentuate them if possible.
Now, John,
Tell me your thoughts.
I would be a little careful about that. I mean, I understand where you're going with it, because I'm a friend of yours and we've talked extensively. But there are certain things about getting positive feedback from a social circle that can be negative and can cause a negative feedback loop.
I like your words. Yes. Okay.
Because, you know, especially if you're putting on that fake personality that we were talking about just a little bit ago, and you have people around you that are giving you feedback that, oh, you know, I love how much energy you've got, how funny you are, you know, and you could be continuing behaviors that are negative for you by giving into, should we call it peer pressure?
Peer pressure. My mind went to, when you were talking about that, my mind went to like unnatural praise, or maybe like someone complimenting you but having ulterior motives, perhaps trying to get on your good side so they can ask you for a favor or something.
You could have people that are that consciously negative about it, but sometimes it could just be because they don't know you well enough, and they're really trying to be complimentary, but it's reinforcing bad behaviors that are bad for you.
Absolutely.
And so you really have to know yourself, and recognize whether, you know, it's a beneficial compliment or a detrimental compliment.
Very good.
I mean, you know, we're all from the South. I can say bless your heart, and it can mean 4 or 5 different things depending on how I say it.
Well, I think that it's also understanding the difference between a compliment and a backhanded compliment.
Yeah.
Backhanded compliments being that they are bringing up something negative or derogatory about you, but trying to make it sound cutesy or fun or silly, or, you know, giving you a jab at it, which is definitely something to throw up a red flag.
Well, and that is definitely true, although that wasn't where I was going with it. I guess just to bring up a very recent personal example, you know, one of my dearest friends that I've known for over 30 years, introduced me to somebody who comes to clean my house once a month, and she is a fabulous woman. I actually am starting to become friends with her, like hanging out with her. But a lot of the things that she compliments me on about my personality, she's being completely sincere about it, are aspects of myself that I'm not completely comfortable with. And she's not doing it to give me a backhanded compliment. She thinks she's being sincere and that it's something that she enjoys about my personality. And like, that's a part of my personality that I don't always like.
I relate to that, Scott.
And so I think, it's important to recognize that, that person may not have harmful intentions, but obviously you're putting off a certain vibe. And, if that's not what you want to put out there, then that's something that I need to work on. Oh, he's back outside.
Yeah, step back outside. So let's say we have an audience across the world that are listening to us, and young people, and we're wanting to give them critical information on how to know yourself. My critical information is listen to the inner voice, especially when it's shouting. Sometimes my inner voice will say, "No, don't fucking do that."
I would agree with you on that. I don't know, the younger you are, the harder that is to do. And there is something to be said about making mistakes, because you're going to learn more about yourself from the things that you do wrong.
Yes, that is true.
You just have to have enough self-awareness to realize, hey, that was wrong. I shouldn't have done that.
Absolutely. I suppose that's another good hint at preparing for the rest of your life, is that you will make mistakes, and that those mistakes are opportunities to learn and do better. Say you even commit a crime that lands you jail time, that doesn't mean you can't later in life live differently and more successfully and free. Not that I think we have any viewers that are serving jail time right now. I don't know why they came to mind, but no matter how dismal your life seems, you can certainly...
I think they give them iPads, and I think
people who are in some very rough life situations. I struggled in my preparation for this topic very greatly in developing notes for how to know oneself. It's truly questioning my very logic and understanding of who I am. I almost had to start to write a few sentences about myself to describe and to state knowing myself, like a few adjectives, and I struggled with this, and I apologize if I didn't give you meeting forewarning on what the meeting topic was going to be. We do have a new member who has been communicating via text from United Arab Emirates, and
the UAE,
struggling with alcohol and beer, and that's something I've struggled with before myself, and I wanted to give this individual some helpful words about knowing yourself and listening and identifying what you want in life and absolutely what you need in life. I wanted to share one thing that came to mind, in that if you're trying to identify what you want, it is very often the opposite of what you're most concerned about. If you are behind on your rent and your income is not as productive as you would like, you might be more inclined to listen to that concern, and you'll want to do something to generate more money, like take an extra shift, or if you're an Uber driver, maybe work an extra few days out of your month to make up for your rent. Those concerns and fears, I view them as opposites of what I want. To be losing another element of my sobriety, losing my sobriety further, then I decide that my desire is to fight for my sobriety and reduce harm to my body and mind. What are your thoughts about that? That the opposite of what you want or need could be what you're fearing or most concerned about. Any thoughts on that?
Well, defining wants versus needs is a pretty critical thing to do. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
I've heard of it.
Learning about it.
Yeah, I don't. There was actually just recently a news article on CNN because I'm a news junkie, and I've been taught that multiple times in various college classes that I've taken. I've seen it at work meetings. It does not actually specifically mention addiction in there. But the very base of that pyramid is, food, water, and shelter, and health. And, I would say that prioritizing your recovery from addiction falls into that. That's a basic need.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you're not gonna survive very long if you continue with your addiction, and it'll interfere with your getting food, water, and shelter.
It will.
Depending on how much you're shelling out.
Absolutely will. Good point, Scott. Did your phone get too hot, James? That's what mine. That's what happened to mine.
Yeah, exactly.
That heat.
What is the temperature there?
94, 93.
120. No, not that bad. 94.
It's 67 here.
Ooh.
Nice. Sounds like a nice place. All right. Yeah, I made the mistake of leaving my phone in the sun where I set it up.
It can happen in the
Sounds like
shade
heat.
too.
Yeah, I got a different spot now.
Your phone can't sweat.
Right.
Or if it starts sweating, I'd get away from it before that lithium battery explodes.
Yeah. Well, sorry for my drop out there. Sound like you guys were talking about some good stuff. Do you know where I left?
You were talking about the metaphysical stuff.
Okay.
And we did go ahead and like dip into that a little bit.
Yeah.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, you two, I think where we kind of left it is, those are basically tools to make you think about yourself.
Yeah, definitely. That's where I was going with it for sure. Things that can help you you just
I'm
realize.
psychic.
Oh, Scott. Telepathy.
One of the things.
Go ahead.
Well, one of the things that I was talking with my psychiatrist about this past week is doing extensive journaling, which I know a lot of people will do journaling, but this is like a lot more in depth to where you start off with, you go in chronological order and you go from your first memory. And you try and write down as many details as you can about that.
Wow.
And then you go to your second memory.
That's intense.
And it is very intense, but it is, again, finding ways of focusing on yourself. And to me, it's been surprising to think about what all has come up in my mind of things that I haven't necessarily thought about in a long time. But I can see that still kind of affect me on a daily basis and affect my choices.
Yeah, I actually kind of like that. John had mentioned earlier that in preparation for this meeting, he started to write down sentences about himself and his personality. And my first thought was, if I had to write down something to describe myself that somebody else was going to read, it would basically just be a resume.
Yeah.
Which is not the purpose behind that. So I was thinking, a diary sort of thing or journaling would be far more effective at knowing myself than me trying to describe myself to a third party. And so, I don't know if that's kind of what you were trying to do, John. Were you trying to describe yourself to yourself, or were you trying to describe yourself to an imaginary third party?
Well, in particular, and I like that Amber brought up journaling because I bring it up sometimes and I hesitate to. But I do find it powerful, and something about the written word expands the mind and develops your thinking. And as you edge along the paper, you're finding more about whatever you're writing about, whether it's a report on Marcus Aurelius or what have you. As you research and come up with your own thoughts and ideas, your paper develops, and that's the fun of writing. That's where I find fun in writing. The beginning's the tough part. So the practice was, how do you begin to talk to someone about the process of learning who you are?
Okay, for our viewers, I'm gonna throw in a disclaimer here. I've seen John's handwriting. It's actually beautiful and legible. For those of you who are like me, only a pharmacist could decipher my scribble.
Ditto. The harder I try, the worse it gets.
Yep.
So, I had this idea that you could write a letter to yourself about what you would wish for yourself, what you would hope they do or don't do. A very, obviously a personal thing, but you can almost speak to yourself. So, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I kind of want to bounce off of that, James, and this is a little bit more on the macabre side. Ha ha ha! Surprise, that comes from me. But if you were to have someone speak at your funeral, giving your eulogy, what are things that you would want for them to say about you? Like genuine things, like trips that you've taken that maybe you haven't taken yet. Things that you've done that you want to accomplish that you haven't accomplished yet. I mean, could you? And
you wouldn't want
genuinely write your own eulogy and have it be something that you would be proud for everybody to hear and say, you know what? That's a really good person.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to bounce off of that idea just a little bit because it's something that has been running through my head since my ex-husband and I separated. It's only been maybe 4 years since my father-in-law passed away, and one of the things at viewings these days is usually, the slideshow with music. A family puts together pictures. Yeah. There's favorite songs that go along with it and that sort of thing. And, I had some pretty rough times after separation. No, I did not think about killing myself, but I did think about, if something happened to me, what would people hear or see? And I've got a friend who's an absolutely fantastic DJ, and I'd be like, you know what? I'd want him to put together the music, and the music that makes me feel and would help people understand my life through sound.
I like that a lot.
Hopefully I never have to do it. And
Well,
he's 6 months,
sweetie,
and he's 6
if
months
you're
older
the one
than I
who's
am.
dead, you won't
So, well, that's true. Well, and he's 6 months older than I am, so hopefully he goes before I do. But as I tease him all the time, like, girl, you're older.
Oh, let me just take this straight from you. Art and creativity, self-discovery, absolutely. Would y'all agree?
Yeah, it's a part of it.
So maybe in writing or in drawing or something you can, if you like to paint, acquire what you need to, maybe do some painting, and that might be a way for you to do some self-discovery. Music, absolutely. I made a tiny bit of music, one little song, but I love listening to it because it reminds me of where I was at this certain time of my life, rough time, and also my hope for the future. And it has empowered me to go back and listen to it as someone who's not ever created any music and recorded it. This one little track I find beneficial. I know James does some music recording, and he's purchased some microphones, and he's got a really nice guitar that he's very talented at.
Well, and for anybody else who ends up viewing this when it gets posted to YouTube, or anybody who might be in the live stream on it, art can be different things to different people. I love music. I can't play a note, and me singing sounds like dogs howling. I
like to hear it.
I can't paint. Oh, there you go. I can't draw. I can't paint. Photography is my love. That can be a little bit more difficult to express, but I do have a significant amount of body art, and each one is something that has happened to me and I've gotten past.
Oh yeah.
Can I go back to the whole concept of not being able to draw and give you guys a piece of advice that I got from one of my high school art teachers that I thought was brilliant. Even if you can't draw, everybody doodles. And a lot of what you doodle, if you're thinking about things, if you're seriously thinking about stuff that perhaps is bothering you or is making you happy or that you're interested in, like I found myself drawing a cruise ship the other day, and that's because I'm going on a cruise. I'm excited. But
hopefully it's more than a 3-hour tour. A 3-hour tour.
Buen viaje. I think it's bonfire.
But what manifests out of that is from your subconscious, and you can get a lot more. And it doesn't have to be beautiful. It doesn't have to be museum quality art. Just scribbling, just taking a lined sheet of paper and a pen and just seeing what comes up.
I like that.
And even going out to a local museum and just finding art that speaks to you, can help.
Agreed.
James, where's your favorite place to go?
My favorite place to go? Wendy's. I like to go to Wendy's.
Yes, their burgers are a piece of art because the beef is perfectly square.
Self-discovery through cooking. Maybe you can decide you enjoy cooking and like to feed people your taste.
Okay, I will say cooking is definitely an art. That is definitely an area where I excel, and it
Yes.
does give me. I will cook things that, as a pescatarian, I can't eat. One of my most fun times in the last 10 years. Does everybody know what a turducken is?
Yep.
No,
Yes.
I do not. What is that?
Okay, so a turducken is when you take a turkey and you stuff a duck inside it, and you stuff a chicken inside the duck, and you cook it.
A turducken. Okay.
And obviously, I don't eat that sort of stuff. But I have now made one twice for Thanksgiving for friends and family, and it's a huge labor. It basically looks like an autopsy as you're putting it together. It takes nearly, if you're cooking in a conventional oven, it takes probably, I think I had to cook it for 18 hours, and I had to get up every 2 hours and baste the silly thing.
Oh wow.
And I had layered mine with sausage and apples and caramelized onions and the whole bit. It's nothing I could eat, but I had a lot of fun doing it, and I loved, taking it over to where we were having Thanksgiving dinner and unwrapping it for everybody to look at and watching them enjoy eating it. Whenever I have people over and I'm cooking for them, it is artwork for me. It's artwork that disappears within 30 minutes, and then there's 2 hours worth of dishes afterwards. But hey.
So we have a upcoming topic, I think 3 or 4 meetings from now, where we'll be talking about the gift of serving other people. And I would like for you to bring that back up also, as I think that is a great way to serve people, put food into their face. Amber did that for me twice in the last 3 days. It was delicious meals. Thank you, Amber.
Well, you're very welcome. But to me, I consider myself a kitchen witch, which, if you're familiar with Wicca or anything like that, it's a very different type of craft, and it's cooking based off of emotion, so you can kind of pick up on what people need by where they're emotionally at. Like my current husband, before he was my husband, when he would get sick, I would make homemade chicken noodle soup.
Oh my God, me too.
And I put extra pepper in it to help him clear out his sinuses and whatnot.
Me too.
And that was something that he always appreciated and still appreciates. But definitely, like I make birthday cakes for my kids. And I don't make just like simple ones. I used to own a bakery, so I make little fabulous ones. Did a cat cake just the other day for my youngest birthday. And so I think that finding comfort through food is nice, but it needs to be something that you pay attention to. Both my youngest children, their family has a long history of obesity, and it's a coping mechanism for them. And so from the time that my children were young, I have taught them the difference between good sugars and bad sugars. So the kids know that anything that rhymes with gross like sucrose, glucose, anything that rhymes with gross is bad for your body. And that if you want something sweet, try eating fruit first.
That's got fructose in it.
Yeah, without fructose in it. No corn syrup.
No, but the fructose, not the corn syrup stuff. But that's naturally in fruits.
Yeah.
Anything natural like that's gonna be fine.
Yeah, generally speaking, it is. I mean, you can overdo it. There can be some physical issues if you overdo the fruit. Just leave it at that. I ate too many figs
Well, don't
once.
eat a whole bunch of plums.
I like that we all have different opinions about these things, and we all share our opinions and have some understanding that there's on basic diet. We have different diets entirely. But yeah, that's really I like that we are discussing already discussing helping other people through cooking. We brought that from the art of cooking, but yes.
There is a certain amount, cooking a healthy meal for other people, especially if you're the type of person that enjoys to cook, and not everybody does. There's a certain type of personal pleasure that you get out of it, and then
I enjoy it.
And then you're giving a gift to somebody else. Now, downside for me is by the time I'm done cooking, I'm not hungry anymore because I've been smelling it for hours. So everybody else loads up their plates, and I have like a spoonful of everything, and that's all I'm going to eat.
That sounds like Thanksgiving in Arkansas.
I agree with you on that one, Scott.
It's
I do
actually
the exact same thing.
It's one of the best diets. If I cook dinner, I'm not going to eat very much of it.
James really enjoys making homemade meals. He's made some fine homemade meals. He sent me a picture of a sandwich the other day. I'm like, where'd you order that from? God damn it, you didn't give me one. It was a homemade.
I arranged the cheese.
Gigantic hoagie. Looked delicious. That said, y'all, would we, let me check the time, which I have to turn on my phone.
We're about 5 minutes until 1.
Thank you. What do y'all have for lunch? What's for lunch, James?
Something that I do for it was chicken fried steak.
Nice.
That helps me become more aware of myself, my tendencies, my reactions, and my issues. Is I have a list of life rules. And like, for example, number 1 is you will not harbor anger toward anyone. It only harms yourself. And so whenever I catch myself in a moment where I'm doing that, I remember my list of rules, and I kind of check myself and go, all right, wait, what are you doing here? And reevaluate myself entirely. Like another one is I will not yell or raise my voice in anger at somebody. That's something that I have a tendency to do. And, before, for years, it would just go unchecked, but now, it's very easy for me to remember that I've got that rule. It's my rule that I wrote for myself, to not do that, to try to improve myself. So, my list is up to 12 things, and it's growing.
So James, that sort of brings up, I know that at least my mom, when I was a kid, said, when you're upset or you're angry, count backwards from 10 before you say anything.
Good one.
Right.
And I don't know that necessarily works. I've tried it, and it doesn't really work for me. But it does go to show that, we're not the only people who deal with issues. It's been going on for generations, and people came up with shortcuts to try to deal with it, and we're exploring things that might work a little bit better.
So some of these rules are not necessarily things that I do that are bad, but they're also things that I aspire to. Like, I will exercise daily, or I will read daily, be productive each day. So I get to think about those things. Those are things that I want to be a part of my life. I know they're going to be beneficial, and to have them there in front of me helps me quite a bit. This is actually the third part of what my higher power is. How I've defined it anyway. Is my list of life rules.
Would you say those are based on your core values?
Yeah, they're definitely revolving around those. I mean, honesty is one of them. Like, you will not lie except if it is to protect someone from harm. Like, some of these are real obvious too, but honesty is one of my core values. Honor, integrity. Um, and I think that we can let a lot of our days just kind of blow by without ever looking at ourselves, looking inward, looking to identify areas that we are doing poorly or areas that we are excelling in, and making progress, cultivating ourselves with intention. And being aware of yourself is going to give you the insight into where you want to improve, or where you want to behave better, or something along those lines.
So James, what I'm hearing you say is that it's important to take some time to self-reflect.
Yeah, definitely. I think.
I want to throw in, when I worked in the call centers for a telecommunications company, a lot of times we would deal with customers that were rather angry or whatnot. And the thing that I reminded myself of always is that my attitude can help shape or change their day. If they're having a bad day, something is horrible, and I can do something to help them fix it, that is within my ability of being okay with myself, then I would definitely do that. There were times where I would have to tell people negative things, and I would try and make sure that when I talked to them about it, that I was keeping in mind, if I was that person, how would I want to hear that? So that's another way of, like, knowing yourself is, treat others as you want to be treated, the golden rule, but genuinely living by that, of saying, like you said, you don't lie to anybody unless it's to not harm them. I don't lie. I happen to be very blunt, so filters don't kick in with me, and I just say what's on my mind. But I'm always able to explain where that comes from, and I think that does me a lot of good, because if I'm being honest with someone and I'm telling them something about themselves, or I'm being honest with myself and telling myself something, then I can say, okay, that's because of X, Y, and Z.
And James,
beautiful thing. Yep.
I will say I've had a very long-standing rule with myself after the rough high school years. I will not lie, not even to spare somebody's feelings. However, I might only tell part of the truth.
Yeah, that's something I as well.
Yeah,
I mean, the beautiful thing about what you were saying, as far as you're aware that what you say can steer another person's attitude, another person's day, where they go from there, how they interact with other people. And you mentioned it in a job sense, a telemarketing sense, or something like that. But it's really wonderful that we get to do that
Telecommunications,
every day.
that's not telemarketing.
We get to do that every day to everyone, and our effect on those people spreads out in branches like tree branches.
Yeah, as much as I hate calling into a call center, I'm always very cognizant of the fact that the person on the other end is just been hired to take abuse from people who are calling in to complain. Nobody ever calls in going, hey, just wanted to thank you guys for the wonderful service. They don't get stuff like that. All they get is complaints all day long, and it beats them down. And so when I do have to, I try to make sure that I recognize the work that they're doing. Hey, I completely understand that you weren't able to solve my problem. I appreciate what you've been trying to do for me today. Or at least saying, honestly, I'm not mad at you. Please don't take this personally.
May I give you guys a recommendation or rather kind of a challenge for the next month? Because probably within the next month, we're all going to deal with someone on the phone that we either are very happy with or that they change our opinion about the situation. There are so many times that people have someone say, I want to talk to your manager because they're mad. I would like to challenge you guys, ask to speak to a manager because they were great, because they were good.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, that is good.
Because that's something that they don't get to hear very often unless the manager happens to listen to the recorded call. But if you make a point of saying, hey, this person was really good on the phone and they're really good at representing your company, that does wonders for their self-esteem. And then their manager will send out a recognition, usually of some sort, saying, hey, guess what? This person got a kudos for what they did. And it's something that kind of boosts the whole center. So you in turn can affect multiple people.
That actually makes me think back. Thank you very much for that. Because with my career, a lot of it has been customer facing, and I have had a few occasions where customers went, hey, can I get your manager's number? I want to tell them what a great job you did. And a lot of the times I would try to say, oh no, it's not necessary. No, and they would insist. And it always made me feel better about what I was doing.
Yeah, it does. If anybody, it doesn't matter what your job is, if anybody comes up, gives you a pat on the back, and attaboy, whatever in the world it is, to let you know that what you're doing is good.
And that reminds me,
you're going to feel better.
I've got, when I go to the grocery store, there are a few of the checkout people that I prefer to get into their line because I love their personality. But I've never actually told their manager that, hey, I'll wait extra in line to see this person because they're so nice.
Yeah, that's something I could do
that.
I could be more generous
so that's why
with people.
And so that's why I would like to challenge you guys for the next month is to make those positive comments and try to turn them into habits.
Yeah.
Accept that challenge. I shall try to do this.
Accepted.
Accepted.
Thank you, Amber. That's a good one.
Well, I got a busy day ahead of me, so I'm gonna go ahead and sign off here. But wonderful meeting with you guys.
I feel
Sorry
the same.
for my absence in the middle there.
Oh, it's okay. We're glad you joined back in, James. We knew. I had a feeling it was because of the heat. We're in a summer heat wave, so yeah.
Yeah, I was so disappointed. I was like, of course you don't leave it in the sun.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, you guys.
Thank you guys.
Before everybody.
All right. Thank you guys.
Before everybody takes off.
Oh.
Can I say one thing?
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I want to give John a special thank you because I brought him from Fayetteville to my house. He is at my house right now watching my animals for me and house sitting for me. And that is something that I would trust very few people to do. And I absolutely trust John on doing that. And just want to say thank you that I have a good friend like that. And I hope that you guys all have a friend like that as well.
He's my friend too. I get
And
to
mine
keep him
as well.
sometimes.
Oh, well, fine.
Yeah, and I
Everybody's
don't,
seen me.
and I don't get to see him because I'm like,
Everybody's friend.
me.
I'm
I'll do
2,000
whatever
miles
you
away.
need. If you feed his belly.
All right, we'll see you guys.
Thank y'all. See you later.
All right, thank you.
Bye bye.